which is the most watchable, which is the least watchable, which is the least intriguing team, who's the most boring team in the NFL? We think we have the answers here. So we'll rank 1 through 32, every single team in terms of most intriguing, most watchable, at number 1, to most boring, most vanilla, really no storylines, nothing interesting about them at 32. So we'll start from worst to first. We'll give you the 4 most boring teams, the least interesting, the least watchable teams heading into 2020. And rounding out the list, coming in as the most boring team heading into 2020 is, drumroll please, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Nothing sexy about them, I'll be honest, I'm sorry. Every good player they've had on that team for the last 3, 4, 5 years is gone. A.J. Bouye, gone. Jalen Ramsey, gone. Yannick Ngakoue is technically still there. He's about to be gone. Leonard Fournette, his 5th-year option wasn't extended. So after this year, if they don't trade him before this year, gone. Every single player of value has been traded, released, or not brought back. So what is there to watch in Jacksonville? They're going to lose a lot this year. They're going to be very bad. They probably, right now, early projection, will have the number 1 pick next year, right? You look at the roster, you look at the division they're in, you kind of look. They do need a quarterback. I'm not a big Gardner Minshew fan, to be honest. I think he's a one-year wonder, let's say. So there's nothing really that draws you in too much about the Jaguars. No one's in their stands, in their stadium. So the games on TV, there's not a lot of juice in the stadium. They're a team that if you're on their schedule, right? If you're a Giants fan, a Jets fan, any team in the NFL, if the Jaguars are on your schedule, are you really clamoring to go to that game? Is that a game you circle in the calendar and say, man, forget the rest of the season. We got to make sure we're at this game. That'd be a fat 0. And if so, God bless you. God bless if the Jaguars are a marquee game on your team's schedule you're really looking forward to and you circle the date on. So they're going to be really bad, like I said. Next year they'll be interesting with Trevor Lawrence, with any quarterback they want to get, Justin Fields. But right now, 2020, Gardner Minshew, I think, is an interesting player. I would say he's more interesting and eccentric off the field than on the field. Every good player, like I said, they have is going to be gone, if not already gone, and they're going to be terrible. So, at least to me, the Jacksonville Jaguars heading into 2020 season will be the most boring team to watch if they're on Red Zone, if they're on your local TV channel that day. Flip to another game. Save yourself the time. Save yourself the boringness. Go to another game. So the Jacksonville Jaguars, the least intriguing, the most boring team of 2020. So let's go to number 31, the Chicago Bears. And here's why. Their quarterback situation is ugly. Any intrigue I think that you could kind of find with this team would be surrounding the quarterback position. Is Mitchell Trubisky going to be the guy? Is Nick Foles going to step in and play well? Is Mitch going to fight off and actually win the job? Are they going to try to do whatever they can to help Mitch win the job? Mitchell Trubisky is done in Chicago. They did not extend his 5th-year option. He's done. They've traded for Nick Foles, and the Bears have already said, this is an open competition. Both quarterbacks understand that. Both quarterbacks are excited to compete. So Mitchell Trubisky's days are numbered. And am I going to watch a team led by Nick Foles as their quarterback in the regular season? I am not. Playoffs is a different story. Nick Foles, the playoff quarterback. Nick Foles, the regular season quarterback, couldn't be more polar opposite. Nick Foles, the regular season quarterback, is tough to watch. It is tough to watch. Look at what happened when he stepped in for Carson Wentz back in 2017. Those last few games of the regular season were not easy watches. 2018, he started the first 2 games. Ugly. He was booed at the halftime. The Eagles won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. He starts the opening night next year against Atlanta. Right? He and the offense are booed off the field at halftime. It's ugly to watch. For whatever reason, Nick Foles plays his best when the games mean the most, which is great. If you were playing some meaningful games in the playoffs, the Bears aren't going to sniff the playoffs this year. They're not going to get to the playoffs. The offense is ugly and tough to watch. The defense is great, which is a shame. But right now in 2020, defense is not what sells tickets. Defense is not what gets people's eyeballs to the TV. It's offense. It's quarterback play. It's exciting, gunslinging, throw it 50 times, light it up on the scoreboard. That's not what the Bears are going to be. They're going to be the complete opposite of that. So the quarterback situation is ugly. The offense is uglier. And for a team that was 29th in the NFL last year in points per game, they did nothing to improve the offense to make it better, to make it more potent, to give you any sort of sex appeal when watching the Chicago Bears. So the Jaguars are the most boring. I'll put the Chicago Bears right below them. Their defense is going to be great. I think that's going to win them some games. So it could be, they're not going to be awful. The Jaguars are going to be awful. 3-13, 4-12, bad. The Bears, I think, 7-9, 8-8. But it's going to be all because of the defense, which means it's going to hear some ugly offensive games and not what you want to see. That's not watchable. At least to me, that is not watchable. I am not sitting down and making the Bears appointment television. So they can win some games. You get Khalil Mack getting some sacks, but you're great. Well, at least to me, I at least love to watch because of the offense. If you're going to have a bad offense or a bad defense, I'll take a bad defense all day because at least it'll be fun. If you lose games, it's going to be exciting. The Bears are the complete opposite of that. So that, at least for me, is the second most boring team, second least watchable team for sure. Let's go to number 30, the Carolina Panthers. I am excited. There's a silver lining here. And now with the new regime coming in, with Matt Rule coming in as the head coach, with Joe Brady, the offensive passing game coordinator for LSU, when they lit it up last year, now coming to be the offensive coordinator in Carolina, I am excited to see what Christian McCaffrey can do in that offense, right? He can take over the Clyde Edwards-Helaire role, catch the ball in the backfield, roam into the tackles. I think he can really have another successful season, just like he's had. Fresh contract. He's worth it. So he's going to be exciting. So I'll say that, a little caveat. There is something to watch for the Panthers, unlike these other two teams in Chicago and Jacksonville. There will be some excitement and some intrigue on offense to see what happens. But I'll be honest, I'm not excited to watch Teddy Bridgewater play. I'm not. He's a quarterback that's a competent backup that showed last year when Drew Brees goes down, he can step in and lead a team competently and still win games. He was 5-0 when Drew Brees was out with that thumb injury. And he won some, he beat the Seahawks on the road in Seattle, beat the Bears in Chicago. So he's played well and has won some big games. But we'll say this. Teddy Bridgewater is not lighting up the scoreboard. Teddy Bridgewater is not throwing the ball 50, 60, 70 yards down the field. Teddy Bridgewater is an underneath passer. He is captain check down. He is a 10-yard curl kind of passer. He's not going to burn you with the deep ball. He's not going to hit you with the post. He's not going to be aggressive down the field. And you watch some of those games that he was leading the Saints with, it was tough to watch. It was not a Sean Payton-led offense I used to seeing with him and Drew Brees. It was very conservative, a lot of underneath throws, a lot of checkdowns, and didn't really push the ball vertically. So he's, I'm sure, going to carry that over to Carolina. There's no way that Sean Payton, basically held the reins back on Teddy and didn't allow Teddy to reach his full potential. That is what Teddy Bridgewater is. Sean Payton catered his offense and the play calling to fit Teddy Bridgewater's strengths. I think the Panthers are going to do that again. He's a great stopgap quarterback. He's a great guy you could put in there, be competent, that he can win you some games for sure. Might lose you a few games, but he can definitely win you some games. Won't be a disaster. At least won't have the Panthers go right into the tank and go 2-14 or 3-13. So I think they'll be a feisty team this year. I think they could be a lesser version of the Cardinals. Now, I was high. I liked what the Cardinals did last year. They were a very feisty team. They were a tough out, and they were exciting brand of football. I think the Panthers could be a knockoff version of that, right? A young team, a young regime coming in, trying to set the boundaries, kind of, get their identity set. I think it could be interesting, but in terms of watchability, in terms of excitement when you're actually sitting down to watch a game, the Carolina Panthers are not high on that list. They're not on your radar, and similar to the Bears and to the Jaguars, there's really nothing really bringing you in to see the Panthers. There's nothing that you're going on your schedule to circle, say, oh, man, the Panthers coming to town. This is a great game. I can't wait to watch this, or we got to make sure we're going to this game, so I can't wait to see what Carolina has in person. That's not it. Christian McCaffrey is going to be exciting, as he always is, but other than that, nothing really aesthetically there pleasing to watch. So that's why I have the Panthers number 30 on this list. And number 29, we'll round it out with the most four boring teams heading into 2020. The Detroit Lions. Now, I like the DeAndre Swift draft pick going into this offense. I like Matthew Stafford. It's not a knock on Matthew Stafford at all. I think he's a very good quarterback. I think he's a very underrated quarterback, in part because just Detroit has never really been able to get out of their own way. But they're not going to be good this year. They're 3-12-1 last year. I don't think they've improved that much in free agency and the draft to where they can have a turnaround similar to what the 49ers just did. Right, the 49ers went from 4-12 to the Super Bowl. I don't see the Detroit Lions coming anywhere close to that. Even with an extra playoff game, or a playoff team, I should say, this year, right? Playoff expanded from 6 to 7 teams in each league. I don't see the Lions being in that race. And this is a year where the head coach, Matt Patricia, the general manager, Bob Quinn, are on the hot seat. They need to win and make the playoffs or they're out. But what gets you excited about the Lions? What is it there that says, you know what? Yeah, I could draw in to watch the Lions. They might have a good game or two, except Matthew Stafford has it in him, so he can just win a game on his own. They pushed the Chiefs last year to the brink and almost won that game at home. They played, some pretty good games last year and played some competitive games last year. They lost most of them, but they're competitive. Look at this list and kind of think about teams that, you're intrigued by, you really want to tune into to watch. The Lions aren't on that list for me. I'm sorry. There's not a lot of sex appeal there. As we know, sex sells. Not much there in Detroit that really kind of gets you excited, gets you intrigued. To where if you're, watching Red Zone, let's say on a Monday, if you have DirecTV, the NFL ticket, NFL Sunday ticket, where you can have access to all games, I don't think the first or second game you're checking in on is a Detroit Lions game. Let's just call it what it is, a spade a spade. You're not going to the Lions, just like you're not going to the Panthers or the Bears or the Jaguars. These 4 teams are boring for their own right. Going to be bad, ugly offense. I think the Detroit Lions, out of the 4 teams listed, they have by far the best offense, the most exciting offense, because Matthew Stafford could still light it up. Still a good quarterback. Kenny Galladay is a nice receiver that has really filled in well. And again, I like the DeAndre Swift draft pick. I think he'll fit nicely and be the main guy in Detroit. But there's not much else there that really gets you excited to watch a game. I still don't think they'll be very good, so they won't be playing in many meaningful games. So just like the Panthers, just like the Bears, just like the Jaguars, the Lions are not very high, I should say, on my watchability rankings. They're not very intriguing at all, at least to me. That's why I have them as the 4th least, or I guess 4th most boring team, I should say, in the NFL heading 2020.